Okay, so now let's have a look at a few more metrics. Using the Data 2 tab, click on Insert, Pivot Tables, OK, and let's do a fresh pivot table. Now the question is, what is the on-time outbound deliveries or outbound deliveries that were on time? Now, step one, find out how many deliveries we made and take a look at all of your columns or fields. How do you know there was a delivery? Well, if there was an order ID, there must have been a delivery. Or if you look at transit minutes, there must have been a delivery. So when a number exists in any of those columns, you know that there was a delivery. Okay, so I'm just going to take order ID, put it in values, and what it's going to do is add up the order IDs for me, which doesn't make any sense. We want to count them. So how many orders were there? And because it's the end of the year, we know we shipped them all out. So right click on this number, value field settings, and count them. So we made a total of 793 deliveries. Now some of those deliveries were on time, some of them were actually late. So there's a field here called late in out, and it says in out because sometimes inbound deliveries are late, for example from a supplier. We don't have data on that, we only have data on outbound deliveries. So let's put late in out in row labels because we actually want to see them. And you'll see that this is all the different minutes that deliveries are actually late. So for example, there was one delivery down here that was actually late by 167 minutes, one by 122 minutes. So out of curiosity, if you wanted to see any of this, for example, which of these deliveries were late, so you can double click on the number 3 and it will tell you it was these 3 sold by these people using those carriers, etc. So I'll just delete that sheet. Now, what we want to do is we want to count all the deliveries that were on time. So you know it was on time if it was late 0 minutes. These actually represent minutes. So we had 459. And you could do some number crunching on the side here. So for example, 459 divided by 793 deliveries we made, we had roughly, or in this case exactly, 57.88% of our deliveries were on time. Now you can do further analysis by saying how many deliveries were under 30 minutes late or under 15 minutes late. Whatever your benchmark or threshold of comparison was, you would perform various metrics on that. So let's right click on one of these numbers, which are the minutes late, group it. So let's start at 2 and let's group it by tens. And it will tell you any number of deliveries that were from 2 to 11 minutes, which we know anything less than 2 was 0 because there's nothing that's 1 minute late. We don't count 1 minutes, but we can do analysis. So anything under 30 minutes was around 160, and just look at the number at the bottom. And very, very late shipments was 3, and you could do the percentages around that as well. Now let's have a look at another one. So I'm just going to remove all of this. And this one is the average late shipments. So let's take a look. So let's put late in out in values, and what that's going to do is it's going to add up all the minutes that all of your shipments were late. Now as a total it makes no difference because there were multiple carriers, there were many different trucks that we used, but if you right click value field settings and average, it will actually average it out for you. And lates were averaging out 10.58 minutes per shipment. Now you know that a lot of those shipments were not late at all, so you might want to exclude the ones that were not late at all. And what we're going to do is we're going to put late in out in row labels and use this little filter button here to actually get rid of the 0. So we're only going to include deliveries that were in fact late. Right? So we've got all of those, and you can see that the average now changes to 25.11. So this is the total. Now, what we want to do is I'm going to take late in out from here, put it in report filter so that we don't have to worry about it, and let's just double check that zeros are excluded. So all of this data is the average minutes for all shipments that were late, not including zeros. But we want to break this down by, let's say, driver. So put driver in row labels, and it tells you out of all your different drivers, for example, Singh was the latest. I mean, he took a lot more time, and then we would investigate to see if he was actually having some of the long haul shipments or possibly only the in-city shipments that would cause him to be late. So it wasn't really his fault. But the most efficient driver we've got is Jones, and again we could investigate. Let's take driver out, put ship type, and let's look at lateness by carrier. And look at this, carrier B is late more often than any other, and we have to try to investigate to figure out why. Carrier D, in fact, was the most effective or more efficient, but I don't think we use D that much. So carrier B, we have to try to understand what's causing the lateness. What is it? Are they transborder shipments mostly that we use them for customs clearances? Was that the delay? And we would account for them. And of course, you could break this out by carrier and driver if you wanted to. So you can do driver in here. So for each carrier, these are the different drivers. And you know, it shows you most of the drivers belong to us. Actually, they all do. And we don't keep track of the various carrier drivers at all. Now, I should tell you that some of these drivers work for us full time, and some of the drivers might be actually from an agency. And we could do all sorts of other metrics in terms of how much we're using these drivers on a given periodical basis. So let's have a look. I'm going to take out all of these values and then actually put that back to all. Take that out. And I want to see all of my drivers. And let's see what was their transit minutes total. So what that tells you is that in a given year, because this is for one entire year, these are the total minutes that the drivers were out on the road. And if we were to average out per shipment by right-clicking here, value field settings, let's average out. You can see per shipment, these drivers are, you know, some of them are longer haul, some of them are short haul. Now, if we wanted to break this down by product or possibly by customer and so on, we could do that as well. But I'm going to do something interesting, right? So take a look. I'm going to take driver out. That's the total average minutes for all shipments. But I want to see the date of the shipment. And I want to see how long drivers have been driving on any given date. So I'm going to take order date, which is right there. I actually want to see it. Those are individual days. And then I'm going to put driver. I'm going to put driver up in box 4. And that's for all the drivers. But let's have a look. Let's do bricks. And these are all the shipments that Bricks was involved with. And you can see some of them are very short trips, some of them are very long trips. But on average, if you look at the bottom, he was out for 584 minutes. But let's have a look at total. I'm going to right-click on this, value field settings, and sum this up. And you can see for each individual shipment, and we're assuming they generally only do one shipment per day, that, you know, sometimes they're reaching up very high amounts. And if we did the math over here, let's do B4 divided by 60, which will get you the number of hours. This guy was on the road for 14.65 hours on that particular day. And as an example, if we had a maximum limit of, let's say, 10 or 12, we want to see that as an average. I mean, I don't mind if a driver goes out for a few more hours here and there, but not all the time. So I'll just copy a few down, and yeah, we're pretty reasonable, right? So he's got pretty light days, some heavy days, and we would pay him overtime as well. Now let's do one more, and for this I'm just going to go back to data 2 and start a fresh pivot. Nothing wrong with undoing pivots once in a while, but sometimes you just want to start fresh, especially when you group things or you use things in box 4 up here. You want to try to use a new one. So let's do one. What is the common carrier usage as percentage of freight? So let's see. I am going to put ship cost over here. I'm going to put accessorials over here, and also late penalty over here. And that'll give me my total freight cost. And I want to break this down by carrier, which in our case is ship type. So over to the side, I'm going to add these up. So we've got B4 plus C4 plus D4. That's my total shipping cost, total for each carrier. And we'll just copy that down. Now I want to see what percentage of my total ship cost is for each common carrier. So let's see. My total ship cost would be this number here, and what percentage is for each carrier. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do this divided by the total, and don't forget we want to copy this down, so highlight that, press F4 so that F9 does not actually change as you copy down. And let's make it a percentage. So this is a nice little number to have. Out of 100% of my freight cost, 84% is in-house, and that's the way we would want it. Our strategy is to bring some of that shipping activity in-house as much as we can, and we'll do analysis on our truck utilization as well. But you know, we're not using carrier D as often. Carrier X happens to be the most used. Now let's do one more. Average freight cost per pound. So I'm just going to get rid of ship type from here, and I have my total ship cost over here. I'm just going to do it again, which is A4 plus B4 plus C4. That's my total ship cost. Out of my total ship cost, how much per pound? So how many pounds did we ship? So you're fortunate here, we've calculated gross weight based on the tables off to the right in the main data. But I'm going to put gross weight over here. Oh, and we just lost. So see what happened? When you put a new field in here, you're actually going to lose some of the data on the other side. So let's just do that again. No big deal. Let's calculate down here. We got A4 plus B4 plus C4. That's my total freight or shipping cost. How much of that cost was for each pound? So let's take a look. This divided by D4, and that will actually tell you 34 cents.